I am from beyond. Listen, and all you desire will be yours. Welcome to Spider-Dan and the Secret Balls. Prepare for Prattle.
Spider Knight?
Alas, friend Spider-Man, by what sorcery doth small ceiling torch shine forth?
It's called a light bulb.
Welcome to Prattle World. I'm your host, the ever-amazing, ever-spectacular Spider-Dan. And in this podcast, I spotlight entertainment's best-kept secrets that a mainstream audience may find boring. And welcome to another edition of Spider Knights of the Round Table, where my guests and I will discuss a much-loved subject in depth and in a round table format. And I brought somebody I haven't seen in a very long time. It's Roisin. She's back.
Hi.
Hello, you alright?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me back.
Oh, it's always a pleasure. I thought this would be a good subject as the new film with Elizabeth Moss is out, The Invisible Man.
Yes.
So, Blumhouse as well.
I know.
So I'm hoping it's going to be really good.
I've heard great things
Yeah?
already.
Have you read any reviews?
Well, no. I learn from Midsummer not to read much into it. What I've just I've seen a few tweets. I've seen like the Blumhouse team and people who worked on the film tweeting about it, and people who've seen the preview. I think they went to the premiere. Does it last night?
Possibly. I've seen reviews have been popping up, so I imagine people have seen it now.
I've seen positive feedback, but I don't want to read too much into it. I don't want any spoilers. Want to go
Fair
into
enough,
it
fair enough.
blind. I've seen the trailer, and I'll let myself have that. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I've seen glimpses of stuff, and somebody said, "Oh, I think it's a suit the way they're invisible." But then I saw a thing where it was like, "Is that a spray on tan type situation?"
Yeah.
So it could be. I don't know, but all I know is it's going to be a creepy dude who's invisible. That's and that's all we need to know.
Yeah. I think we can talk about this much more later.
Yeah,
but
sure.
The thing that I'm looking forward to the most from what I've seen from the trailer is that you probably will go through the film not knowing if she's losing her mind or if it's really happening.
Exactly,
and I love when films kind of do that to you.
Yeah.
And you think, what would you do?
And it's going on a kind of almost like they're in this kind of toxic, abusive relationship, and the kind of almost the PTSD of coming out of something like that, and to have that, that presence and to have that power over someone, and how that affects them mentally. So
exactly
that it's kind of believable that they could have potentially have a mental breakdown.
I think he offers to leave her some money as well in the will, as long as she proves herself to be mentally stable. So it's almost like a game.
Ah, I see.
Yeah,
okay, so there's a bit more.
That's what I've seen, and I'm like, right, okay.
Won't spoil it too much, but we're going to talk about the last creepy fella who turned himself invisible, and this is 20 years old now.
I couldn't believe it.
I'm feeling my age now. I was like, is it? Surely not. Surely we're not that old. So we're going to talk about Kevin Bacon, Paul Verhoeven's Hollow Man, which I actually think is quite a good title given the character and what happens within the film.
Yes, actually, I didn't think of that.
Because he's not, Kevin Bacon basically plays a scientist who's working for the government with a big team of other experts, molecular engineers or something like that, some sciencey phrase.
Yeah.
And they're trying to basically create military applications for invisibility.
Yeah, it's like a serum, the invisibility serum or something.
I think it's irradiated as well. I think there's a bit of radiation in there. And that's basically the plot. And he, as all crazy mad scientists do, they test it on themselves.
Yeah, I just said to Laurie when we watched it the other night, I was like, it was reminding me of Flatliners a little bit. It's just scientists fucking around with things they shouldn't be fucking around with. It's not going to go well.
No.
What are we doing?
No, God has reasons why we shouldn't do this stuff. So, if you believe in God or not, but always seems to go wrong.
Yeah.
So he tests it on himself, the whole team tests it on himself, and then they find out they can't reverse the invisibility. He gets locked away, becomes a bit of a lab rat, and he starts kind of losing it. He's not the sanest of guys, he's not on the good kind of. He's already got kind of God complex.
Yes,
and a lot of other. He's the sociopath basically. But what's good about this film is you see the development gradually.
Yeah, you do. You get a couple of little hints at the beginning before he even transforms because you see him spying on his neighbour.
Yeah.
And then he tells that weird joke about Wonder Woman.
Yeah,
and
taking advantage of Wonder Woman.
Yeah, you're a bit like, okay, that's what kind of person you are, basically.
That's a good tell, because I think I'd heard that joke before, but I don't know if someone had seen this movie and told me that joke when I was a kid. And I was like, that's not a nice joke. I was like, I
don't get it. It's not funny.
But even their reactions are quite, like, the way they respond to him and the way they talk about him. Even that it's their boss, and they respect him, and he is a bit of a genius. He figures out these things, but his personality, he is a hollow man. He doesn't have a heart. Like, even Elizabeth Shue's character in it, she says, oh, do you want to, what's it like making love to an invisible man and stuff like that? And she's like, you were never there anyway. It would just be the same thing, It's like he just doesn't have that caring, feeling, sensitive side of him. He just, it's all a power grab. And it's quite complex film, considering it is a bit of like a slasher horror jump thing.
Yeah, it is. They test on animals first, don't they?
Yes, yeah. There's a gorilla, dogs, various other things.
There's a little rat in the beginning.
The opening.
I forgot that happened, and I was like, oh no, what's this? And so they're testing all the animals. What is the animal that gets the rat in the beginning? Is it Elizabeth?
I think it's
gorilla.
I think it's the gorilla, because it looks like it gets grabbed around the throat. So you kind of see the way the invisibility works. You kind of see it squish almost like that around the neck, kind of like a almost circular motion. And because I thought it was a lion initially. And I was like, because the way the jaws were. Because the way the jaws were. And I was like, I mean, it seems silly why they would test on a lion, but they've tested on dogs and everything else, so why not a lion?
Why not?
And I mean, that's a scary premise, an invisible lion.
Yeah.
Make that movie.
I mean...
Make the invisible lion movie.
Yeah, no, it's really complex, and I do really like it. I watched it first when I was quite young. I could...
So we're talking 2000, so I'm guessing I'm around 11? Yeah, about 11, I'd say.
One thing we loved when we were watching it is in these late 90s, early 90s kind of horror thrillers, they play just really generic metal music. Like you always see the characters driving around and I'm like, yeah. And,
well, I said to myself, he listens to new metal, so he must be evil. He's the villain of the piece,
But I think it's a really good cast, to be honest. I love Josh Brolin. I think it's just because he was in the Goonies when we were
Who doesn't love Josh Brolin? I mean, he's Thanos, isn't he? So
exactly. Yeah. Elizabeth Shue. Greg Grunberg, I know him from Heroes, but he's done quite a few little bits of horror. Actually, I've seen him throughout.
Yeah, he kind of pops up every now and again. I think he's very much in that kind of niche geek market.
It's his casting type, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. He's in the latest Abrams Star Wars films.
Oh, amazing.
So if you keep your eye out, you can see him kind of, he'll say the odd line or he'll pop up. I think he's a pilot. I think he's one of the Rebel pilots.
Oh, amazing.
So yeah, if you keep your eye out for him in those films, you'll see him. But yeah, I really like him. I dig he's quite young in this, actually. He's quite youthful, and he's kind of he's the most kind of youthful, has the most youthful exuberance. Everyone else is kind of just like a bit of a nerdy scientist or a medical person, but he's kind of just like, almost like, the
is
roadie.
He a student, maybe?
Yeah, he's kind of a roadie-esque type guy.
And there's Joey Slotnick, who we kept saying he's just a cross between Paul Giovanni and Judge Reinhold from Santa Claus. Because at first we were like, is that him? Because we've not seen it for so long.
Yeah, but, that's the guy with the curly hair.
Yes. Yeah. No, but great cast.
Yeah, it was. I think it's what's helpful as well is
obviously Kevin Bacon as well.
We'll get to him. Don't worry, we'll get to him. But I think the rest of Kevin Bacon is the best thing in the film, without a doubt, shadow of a doubt. He is the best thing in this movie.
Yeah, he's probably only in it for about a third.
Technically,
of the movie, really.
Technically, you barely see him in it. It's like a Batman Returns scenario where Michael Keaton was barely in it. There's. I'm just picturing, I was watching some behind the scenes stuff, they realised that initially when they were filming, obviously they had these invisibility scenes where, they don't know where he is and a chair will move and things like that. They didn't have him on set. They didn't have Kevin Bacon on set.
Oh, right.
So, and when they were filming it, they realised that the actors' performances were a bit wooden or a bit stale. So what they did was they said, we need Kevin Bacon on set, even
Fuck
in
around with them a little bit.
just to stand behind the camera. But what Verhoeven did, which I thought was really clever, was they had speakers in the room and they played his voice.
So 1 minute he'd be coming from one direction and the other he'd be across the room. That's really clever.
So the actors were responding in real time to these kind of, they're like, where is that voice coming from?
That's really clever.
So they're freaking out like, oh, and all that, and he's actually doing it for real and kind of making that voice travel.
That's really clever. That gives people wondering about whether, because I liked the CGI. Do you know when they do the blood test on the invisible gorilla, and I was like, well, the band and the needle and everything, it looked quite legit considering it was 20 years ago.
Yeah,
the CGI wasn't too bad.
They spent, so this is one of the highest budget for this movie, is one of the highest for any horror movie at the time.
Really?
I don't know about now. I think it obviously maybe adjusted for inflation.
Yeah.
But it was about 95 million.
Ooh.
50 million was spent on the special effects.
Wow.
So we're talking like top level at the time special effects. It was even nominated for an Oscar.
Was it?
Yeah, but lost to Gladiator.
Oh well.
But
yeah.
I can't remember the special effects in Gladiator. Can you think of something where I went, oh wow?
Maybe the animals were.
Yeah, I imagine.
Russell Crowe really fought.
Yeah. Yes, really fought. To be honest, he punches everything.
Yeah,
he's always in trouble for punching things. Russell Crowe, so he probably would punch a lion. It's like Conan, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, just punching a camel. Just punches a camel in that film just straight out. So, we were trying to figure out. So I don't know if you've seen this from watching the behind the scenes, but when Kevin Bacon turns, he has his transformation into the Hollow Man. The Hollow Man.
Was he there? Is he in a morph suit? Is it green screen?
It's a bit of everything, really.
Is it?
So the effects they wanted for various different things. So the bits where you see him when he's in smoke, or
really
when he's
clever,
when he's in water,
or
various, or when he's on fire, or various other things, where he's covered in the blood, he's covered in all the blood. Certain effects they had to basically. We have these green suits now. There's kind of the staple of CGI.
Yeah.
Everybody wears them.
Ping-pong balls
yeah, you know it.
Yeah.
Andy Serkis, all that sort of stuff. So this was kind of that kind of tech. So I think for the regular scenes, they wore green, and they even gave him green contacts and painted his face green as well. So a big Lycra suit. Then I think in water, he had to be completely black. So black contacts, black face paint, fully black suit as well.
Okay, so he was
there
a lot in this film.
Yeah, it wasn't just like, it's just like, this movie is great.
sat by the camera.
I'll be in my trailer.
I'm reading the lines.
But no, he was doing it. So the bit like where he goes in the swimming pool, he's in the swimming pool in the suit.
That's clever.
Various things. The green was for flesh or any gore or anything like that.
Anatomy.
The anatomy. Black was for the water because if they wore green, because it's quite luminous, there would be reflection of like the bubbles in the water and stuff like that. So they used black for that, and then blue was for smoke or the fire extinguisher and things like that. Or the so they would use different effects required different.
Yeah.
So it's basically just if you watch the behind the scenes, you're just seeing Kevin Bacon dressed up like Kermit the Frog, one of the Blue Man Group, and then just Peter Pan's shadow. Yeah, just all and to credit to the actors because they do treat it like it is an horrific.
I mean, because this is the thing. I know he's got this invisibility serum pumped through him, but he almost does get a little bit superhuman.
Yeah, towards the end. They're knocking him out. They're setting him on fire.
Yeah, they put him through all the elements.
Yeah, they're just like
possible.
Stab
and
him.
He still won't die. It takes a lift or fall.
Yeah, I mean, there is talk in real life of people that have severe kind of mental health problems. Like on a psychotic level, they do become like almost superhuman.
So like adrenaline.
Yeah, exactly. They almost
fight
become
or fly.
Yeah, and they just and you can't. Yeah, they do appear stronger, or people in this. If a woman has a child trapped under a car, she'll find she can lift the car.
I've heard this.
So I think it's somewhat believable, but he does become a little bit of a slasher villain within this. But
definitely.
But it is a horror film, so I kind of don't mind that. And I think the creepiest elements for me is when he wears the rubber latex mask.
Yeah.
And the eyes are gone, and it kind of almost looks like a burn victim.
Yeah, and he scares the children, doesn't he, in the car?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, Mom, drive. I mean, you would, but that's when he's starting to. We were talking about this and saying, I think I would play pranks. Yeah. I would if I had that power. You definitely like mess with people a little bit.
Yeah.
But he just takes it above and beyond,
too far,
doesn't it? Way too far. Yeah.
I think there are certain superpowers which are kind of inherently creepy.
Yes.
I think especially if you give them to a male character, I think they do become inherently creepy. Like I can think of a few like comic book characters specifically. So the Purple Man from Jessica Jones, he has kind of mind control. So in that he kind of makes women have sex with him,
so
and
it's taking advantage
exactly
really,
of that power. Yeah. And there's a character in the comics called Marvel Comics called Star Fox who he emits kind of pheromones and can make. No, that's it. He can manipulate your brain chemistry, and the pleasure centers in your brain.
Okay.
So he can kind of manipulate people to like orgasm, for example, and things like that because he can. Yeah, he's actually Thanos' brother, believe it or not. But there's reasons they've not introduced him because there's some creepier elements to him, and that being the main one. And I think just general kind of mind control and invisibility itself. I think because I think the old school thing would be like. The male fantasy is like, if I'm invisible, I'll go and stare at naked women. That whole kind of awful kind of scenario. Yeah. But that obviously in this film, they go, okay, you get exactly what you want. You get this. Mm-hmm. But they show you the absolute kind of negative idea of that. Like, this is something you wouldn't do. Like, you go, you'd mess with people, like you said, but you wouldn't go as far as he goes.
Because I think he gets almost every female character in the film, pretty much. Because he what's the character called with the short red hair?
Oh, I can't remember.
So he gets her when she's sleeping. Yeah. And I was really trying to concentrate to see how people reacted because I thought I'd be interested to see someone say, I think this happened to me. This was 20 years ago when obviously years and years before the Me Too movement and everything like that had started to be addressed. Yeah, so he gets her and then obviously Elizabeth Shue has a dream that it happens to her.
Yes, she does, yeah.
And then he gets the neighbour who is it Rona Mitra? Ali G in the House.
Ali G in the House, yeah.
Yeah, so that's all I really know from.
Turn it to vibrate and finish yourself.
That's exactly what Laurie said. But so I think that scene, obviously it's horrific enough anyway. Yeah. But the fact he messes with her. In the beginning, he wants her terrified to begin with, so he messes with the mirror. And, like, it's one thing just to do it, when she's asleep or something like that. But to get her terrified, it's that God complex. It's having that power, and that's what, like, rapists majority have, really. Yeah. That's what they want. They want, like, fear and struggle, etc. So it's just... we just discussed.
Horrific, yeah.
Yeah, it's so bad, but it does kind of make you think about how you would react if you're put in that situation if you were given that power. Because we were talking about the Stanford prison experiment in the 70s, and they gave the students roles of prisoners and guards, and
there's been a few films I think about it as well.
There's been quite a few. I did a play by a lovely writer called Mark Reed called Better Brutality Than Boredom, and it's about two teenagers that get access to these three men that all have chips in like the back of their necks, so we can control what they're doing. And it starts off like just messing around, a bit of fun and pranking, but then it ends up quite lethal, basically. And it just makes you think, as humans, is there a reason why we don't have these kind of powers? Like, is that where it'd go eventually? Because you mentioned earlier, he kind of gets stuck. They can't get him back. Yeah. But I couldn't realise why, because he managed to get the gorilla back. Yeah. Do you think he was interested in returning back to normal?
I think initially, yes. I think he wanted to prove that his experiment was a complete success. That he is,
because they were doing it on the sly as well, weren't they? Because they lied to the Pentagon.
Yeah, how could you lie to the Pentagon? Apparently, that was the Pentagon they filmed outside of as well.
I was thinking that because you could see the White House in one of the shots during they go for the celebratory meal. You could see the White House in the background. I was like, oh, that's where we are. But so obviously they'd lied. I think they wanted to try and get away with it. Yeah. Before they found out.
Yeah, exactly. Because basically, once it's Sebastian Cain, I think the character, Kevin Bacon's character is called. He basically says, once they know how to do it, we're done and dusted.
Yeah.
They'll just get scientists to do it. Just get any old person. They won't get the research people involved.
Yeah.
We have to keep this to ourselves. This is a crazy discovery, but we have to, for the time being, know that it works, practice what we have to do and know it, inside out before we let anybody else have it. Because again, once the genie's out of the bottle, you can't put it back.
No.
So that's what he wants. And that's why he uses himself as a test subject, because I don't think anybody else would agree to it.
Well, yeah.
And that's, I think later on, they get the gorilla back, but then it's not without, issue. The gorilla almost dies, and then he almost dies when they're trying to revert, and he's like, something wrong, there's something wrong. And then he kind of comes... they have to kind of paddle him, and I think, or I can't remember. No, it just kind of reverts. I think he kind of just becomes more visible because he kind of goes halfway there, and then starts retreating again. And I think that's when it becomes an issue. And I think when Elizabeth Shue's character is a really strong character in this.
Yeah, she is.
And she's very
really nice to say.
Take control. She's up there in levels of intelligence. She doesn't put up with his shit.
Yeah.
She absolutely knows he's not a good guy. He's not the best guy, but he's obsessed with her.
I think someone says to him at one point, is this the serum or is this you?
Yeah.
And
And it's interesting because because the serum could affect him mentally.
Yeah.
I think they say that as well. It could start affecting his mind. So he,
but had that side of him not already been there in the first place, would it have gone that bad?
Yeah. Do we know? It's because there's hints that he's not a great guy. Yeah. Yeah. But it's nothing like he's homicidal or a rapist or anything like that.
I think the first time you see him when he hurts something, is it the dog?
Oh yeah.
Well, obviously the poor woman who's asleep.
He
grabs.
Yeah.
She obviously comes first, but then there's the dog, which used to terrify me. I remember watching it as a child, and I didn't see how they.
Yeah, they switched.
Yeah, they switched, and they switched the real dog for a stuffed toy filled with
blood, I guess.
Blood, yeah.
Apparently, an animal protection agency was so concerned with that scene that they had it investigated, and Paul Verhoeven had to show them behind the scenes shots of him.
I mean, it looked pretty real.
Yeah, he grabs the real dog and it's like,
he's like, I'm not going to hurt you.
And it goes off screen ever so slightly, and then wham! It slams it into the cell. Yeah. And it's just blood everywhere.
And that's the first sign of, sociopaths when they're children, if they're hurting animals.
Yeah, that's a big sign.
So maybe that was why that scene was put in there. Oh no, he's definitely
changing now. He's not a great guy, but he's sucking people's nipples while they're asleep.
Yeah,
it's before before that even happens, he's doing that. So I'm that's not good. Yeah. That's not a good thing. But I think there's something about the anonymity as well. We see it online a lot.
Yeah,
that we see all these trolls and stuff that have anonymity, that can say whatever the hell they want, however they want, without any repercussions, because they have some form of anonymity. That's either a fake profile or what have you, or the user avatar or something, and they can say and do what they want, and they can devastate people's lives and their mental health and stuff, regardless of But then there was a really good meme I saw the other day. It was basically this is social media, and it was two sets of dogs on either side of a gate, and the gate is electronically opening, and these dogs are having at it each other through the gate, and the gate slowly starts to open, and the second the gate is fully open, all the dogs run in the opposite direction. And I was like, that is social media. If you put people face to face, you wouldn't speak like that. You wouldn't say those things. You wouldn't be as blatantly disrespectful. And I think that this taps into that a little bit.
Yeah, no, it does.
And the kind of there's a bit of there's a lot of that kind of voyeurism as well. If these walls could talk, what's behind them? I can get in, I can do this, I can see these sort of things. And it's quite a fascinating film. I mean, obviously it's very much like a horror entertainment kind of, it has all those trappings, but deeper and more introspective things you could think about, and about the human condition, and what would you do, like you said, if you had that ability, and how would you use it?
People you know, or do you know what I mean?
Would you take revenge on somebody for something? Who knows? Depends how you were brought up, or your mental conditioning, maybe. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what I'd do with invisibility. Really, I can't really think. I mean, spy. I guess you could be a really good spy.
Good name,
industrial saboteur.
Some, politicians I'd love to spy on.
Oh, yeah, that'd be good. That'd be good. But I mean, you'd be bloody cold though, wouldn't you? You'd be walking around naked all the time. I'd be freezing.
That's it. Like, what if it wears off?
Yeah.
One day
it's like, yeah. I think there's certain films where it does kind of come back and forth. I was going to ask, did you? So before we talk about Kevin Bacon, when he transformed, I think I wanted a little bit more from the reaction from everybody. I know you've seen the animals. But I think to see a human start, because he starts, it looks like convulsing.
He's burning at first, doesn't it? And
it's almost like a cigarette burn.
Muscles, when it gets to like the muscles, I really wanted, because I was just waiting for some more of a reaction, but they're kind of all just like amazed, and it's like, yeah, great, you probably would be amazed, but I really wanted someone just to be like,
throw up or something. I tell you what, I do like the bit where he throws up and it's invisible.
Yeah,
I thought that was
very
really
clever.
Cool.
Yeah,
and I like the eyelids thing as well.
Yes, it's these little details that you don't think about. Wouldn't that would drive you fucking crazy?
Yeah. That alone,
you couldn't
forget the rest of the stuff. Just not being able to sleep.
So he gets the sunglasses. So this is the thing as well. It's like, well, okay, he's a bad man in the first place, but then chuck a load of this at him and the power of invisibility. Would anyone just go a bit mental? You just don't know.
I think, and that's what I think it does best. Is it's a nice arc. It's not like I'm invisible and I'm mental. It's a gradual. I think Kevin Bacon sells it really well.
Yeah, he does.
Like we said, it's this gradual arc, and he starts off. He's a bit of a dick. He's basically just like,
lad.
Yeah, lad. I love myself. I'm sexy. I'm brilliant. This absolute arrogance.
Yeah.
And that's the arrogance that comes to play when he says to the military, he's like, no, we haven't cracked it just yet. Because that's born of pure arrogance. In a way, arrogance would be, I did it. But also he wants to keep it himself. He wants to keep the thing. Because he's special now. He doesn't want to lose that specialness. And then becoming invisible makes him even more special, like the first person that's ever, they say, he's been asleep for 17 hours and we've got 3 lifetimes worth of research just here alone, in these few hours, that could be studied for the rest of time. They'll all go up in smoke anyway.
Generally.
That's the only, I think that's one of the only shames of the film was the ending's a bit kind of weak.
Yeah, I didn't realise that the explosion would have really only been contained to that one room.
Yeah.
It kind of went up the corridors, up the lift.
The travelling explosions, kind of tunnels.
It was what acid was it? I can't remember.
Oh, it's nitroglycerin.
Nitroglycerin,
because they say, it's nitro. So he's blowing stuff up. I love how casually, like I do quite love how casually he goes to blow everything up. He's like, it's so casual.
Like
and then
5 minutes,
and then smashes the keyboard. Is like, whatever.
Oh yeah, he goes to town in that room. It's. Yeah, completely
brilliant,
destroyed by the end. What was his plan? What was he planning to do after that?
What do you think?
I don't know.
So, I mean, you could probably get away with living because he looks a bit like a burn victim.
Yes.
So I think you could probably pass for the most part and go. If you wear like a cap and some glasses, you could kind of probably get away with a little bit of not being seen. But obviously,
maybe he was just thinking of like being a spectacle. That's why I imagine like a lot of people would want fame, money, etc.
But then maybe he could have been like a industrial saboteur, or he can steal secrets. Steal secrets basically. Things like that, because that would be handy, and he can be hired by he could be an assassin. I mean, there's a lot of handy there's a lot of things you could do. Now we're thinking about it. Actually, I'd be an assassin. I'd be a cold-blooded assassin. So I'm just thinking these off the top of my head.
Yeah.
So anybody out there who's invisible, there's some ideas for you. But no, I think Kevin Bacon's is a really unique actor.
He is, yeah.
And
even with his commercials. Is it E?
Oh, E. I thought you were going E. Some of his films are bad. No, his EE commercials they're pretty cheesy.
He knows what he's doing.
He's like he's never afraid to take risks.
No.
Because I know for a fact he played at least 2 or 3 paedophiles in films.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen The Woodsman?
No, I've not seen The Woodsman. I was just thinking of Mystic River, but he wasn't.
No, I don't think he was there. No, I don't think he was the... He's the paedophile in
the
Sleepers.
police.
Have you seen Sleepers? No. It's fair enough.
It's
good cast. Good cast.
Yeah, no, it's on my list. I've got a few... Kevin Bacon, I think, didn't he start in Friday the 13th? Is that his first
Yes,
film?
the very first film, yeah.
Obviously, he did Footloose and everything, but I love the horror films that he pops back up in. Like Stir of Echoes is probably one of my favourite films.
I need to watch that. I own it, but I haven't watched it.
Yeah, I think it came out around the same time as The Sixth Sense, and I was too young to go and see either, but my mum said that it just got completely overshadowed by The Sixth Sense because that was such a phenomenal... just sensation of a film. Yeah. But the Stir of Echoes is really good. It's a really good little ghost story.
I'm definitely going to watch that one now. Definitely.
Yeah, he's fantastic in it. And yeah, like even if he did like I think one film a year or something. He's a bit of a Tony Collette. Like he'll be, I like how he'll pick and choose. Well, she was in The Sixth Sense.
Yeah. But I think that is a quite like you can go through all these different genres, and I think that's a sign of a good actor that they can cherry. They're not just like like Matthew McConaughey just did romantic comedies for about 10 years. Yeah. Like that was it. That's all he did.
I wonder if people, if he just got kind of typecast as that, so he couldn't be seen for certain
that as well.
roles.
Yeah. But I think, Kevin Bacon's really... there's a great film he made called Death Sentence. Oh. I think it's from the director of Saw or something like that. And it's basically like a revenge movie. Yeah. It was initially a sequel to Death Wish. It's based on... Yeah.
Oh, is it?
I think Death Sentence is the official sequel to Death Wish. But they kind of made it its own thing. And he goes around... and it's one of the most bleak kind of vigilante movies I've ever seen in my life. It's really, dark and depressing. And he really... like kind of... It's almost like Hollow Man. It kind of just takes over his life, and it just like loses all sense of what he's doing and why he's doing it. What's The Woodsman? The Woodsman. Jog my memory. Yeah. So The Woodsman is basically he is a convicted paedophile. Kevin Bacon plays a convicted paedophile who has come out of jail, and he's trying to recover. He's trying to not be a paedophile. And it was a hard... Me and Nathan's brother Matthew watched it, and we were like, should we just do it? I was like, okay, I think I'm in a good place to watch this.
That's what I'm in a good... Films, I've still not seen Prisoners yet, because I've just heard...
You want to be in a strong mental place to deal with that.
I'm a bit stressed right now. I've got a lot on my plate. Probably won't stick that on.
Yeah, I'm about to cry, so maybe not... that one's not for me right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very much a hard watch, because it's a sympathetic character who's also a paedophile.
Yeah.
And he's I wouldn't say he's the hero, he's the protagonist.
Yes. We're following him.
And his real life wife plays his girlfriend in it.
Oh, does she?
Yeah. I think probably might be because it would have been hard to get somebody in to play against.
Ooh,
maybe.
That's
it's a difficult subject to even broach.
Have you seen their daughter? She's an actress as well.
Yes.
She reminds me a little bit of Linda Blair. She's got very dark eyes.
Actually, no. I'm thinking of Uma Thurman's daughter, Ethan Hawke's daughter. I'm thinking of her.
Oh, they're all in films.
Oh, yeah. Why not? Why couldn't I be born to somebody famous?
Yeah, basically.
Nepotism. Damn nepotism. But yeah, he sells the entire movie. If you hate everything else about the movie, you'll come out liking Kevin Bacon, even though he is a horrific human being in this. It's done in a very entertaining, kind of cheesy way. Kind of a bit like Freddy Krueger. He's kind of like, he's a child murderer and all this horrible.
He's charismatic.
He's quite charismatic as a villain, And I think, and there was a line in it where he's like, it just made me laugh, and he was just like, I always knew you were a bitch, and I was just like, he just goes to like hit her, and I was like, I don't know why that's so funny, but it's just like, I always knew you were a bitch. He just goes to crack Elizabeth's shoe, his head open.
Oh yeah, no, he's. Oh, there were some funny moments.
Yeah,
I think they had to throw some of that in. Because otherwise you'd be like,
it's a bit. Yeah, it would be a bit bleak, a bit grim.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of humour to be found in it, and they make jokes. I like the bit where the girl goes to the toilet and she hears like the door go, and she's like, just gonna put on my infrared goggles.
Oh, I hated that she went first.
Yeah, she was good. I liked her.
She was good, yeah.
Yeah. What was it? Oh, yeah, he gets the tubing, doesn't he? He gets the, the intravenous kind of tubing.
What were the deaths then? So he strangles her?
Strangles her. He, Grunberg gets choked. and then he gets dropped and his head goes right on that.
Like Final Destination. Yeah.
That's a nasty one.
But Judge Reinhold gets...
Judge Reinhold.
He gets a crowbar.
Oh, yeah, he gets, from behind.
This is when I started going, oh, no, I think it is a horror.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe just...
It's not just a thriller, because you're seeing everything. It's not like, oh, what's going to happen?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of gore to it, especially like the invisibility. If you're looking for gore, you're going to see, I'm sure you see like a digital, Kevin Bacon's penis as well. Like if you want Kevin Bacon penis, you've got it all there. So there's a fair bit of stuff going on, and again, when it takes that final turn into the final act, it does become like slasher territory. It's not just creepy, weird, and disturbing.
I love the clever idea when she has the bags of blood. And she's like, right.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah,
can chucks them all over, but he's already
behind her. Yeah, because I was watching it and I was like, "There's a massive path,
huge.
all the way behind you." So I don't know if you've, it's clever though. I do.
She needed more time.
Yeah, I think so. I kind of liked her a little bit. I know she was quite a pointed kind of individual, but she was very much like caring about the animals and their treatment, and because he jokes about he doesn't really like her, does he? That's the one he probably likes the least.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'll just chop her up. I'll just chop the ape's brain up, and we'll see what's going on. She's like, no, don't you do that. So, but
what happens to the
gorilla?
I'm sure she's called Elizabeth.
Isabel? Is Elizabeth?
Isabel.
The female gorilla.
But yes,
Queen Kong.
In my head, I thought I remembered from back when I first watched it that the gorilla got out and got him. I thought that's how they escaped, was the gorilla got out.
Oh, okay.
Maybe
that would have been interesting.
Well, that's what I was thinking, but they
Invisible
wouldn't know.
Man versus...
They think he's still around. I mean, it'd be easy to film. It'd just be the camera going one way, camera going the other way. There's nothing going on, we just hear some stuff.
It's just watch. It sounds brutal. Well, I mean, if he tore into the skin, the blood would, splatter on both of them. So that would be good.
But I don't think I must have just imagined that.
Have you seen
The Animal's Revenge?
Have you seen The Boys? Have you seen The Boys?
The Boys.
It's on Amazon. It's based on a comic book, and it's about this group of guys.
Not yet.
Because all the superheroes are really awful people, like very much like Kevin Bacon in this. So there's a group of these guys that are underground, and they're trying to bring the superheroes down. And one of them is I think it's called Transparent or Transparency or something. So he
I see right through you.
Yeah, something like that. And he's got like indestructible skin as well. So the way they decide to destroy him is by shoving like an explosive up his bum.
That makes perfect sense.
It's transparent, something like that. But I've not seen many. I think I've seen one or two episodes, but I need to watch the whole thing. But there's a great bit where they're fighting in like a video store, and they're absolutely getting destroyed, and then he just spits blood on his face, and he's like, and then he's like, right, now I've got you. Dush, 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 dush. Keeps just spitting blood at him till he's like absolutely covered.
That's clever.
So it's really, really, really cool. Very, very, very brutal and very kind of. Because there's this, it opens with this guy who's with his girlfriend. He's like, "Let's get married," and then the super fast guy is on drugs, and he runs right through her, and she just disintegrates.
Holy moly!
That's how it starts.
Right. Okay.
And then he joins these guys and goes, "Yeah, I want my revenge because I love that." Because he's just holding her hands. That's all that's left is her hands.
Oh.
Yeah, it's pretty grim.
Wow.
It's pretty grim.
God, what's that remind me of? Oh, I think it's the end of. I don't want to tell you actually.
Oh, spoilers.
No, I
Okay.
can't tell you.
All right.
You.
Can you tell me what it's from? Will that spoil it?
Well, no, I don't tell you who it happens to. So
Okay.
I guess the film Ready or Not.
Ready or Not? Oh, I watched it the other night. Don't worry, it's not spoiling a thing. Yeah.
It's brilliant. Running away.
I literally before
children.
Yeah.
Those smaller birds.
I literally made that joke before it happened, and I was like, because I was like, oh yeah, here we go.
Wouldn't it
be funny? And I was like, oh wait, they did it. Amazing.
It was really good because I thought it was just going to be the wait,
nothing's happened.
Yeah. But I liked how they do it.
Yeah, because I didn't think it'd be like I thought it would just be like a family tradition type thing, and no other kind of implications.
But then there is some
there's this kind of
element.
Yeah,
there actually is a curse, etc.
Yeah, but I can imagine there's going to be kind of more maybe sequels to that, or like other families that do it. Maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe.
I think. I couldn't say following Samara Weaving anymore.
I think her story's done.
Story,
yeah. But she was fantastic. She was
she's
so
going to
good.
be.
I didn't know she was related to Hugo Weaving.
Oh, is she?
Yeah. She's like his niece or something.
Where's my
nepotism? It's all this nepotism. Stop nepotism in acting. Stop it. It's not fair for anybody else. It's not fair. Nobody's got money. These poor actors.
So what? So have you read into any of the Invisible Man?
Invisible Man, the new film.
Yes.
New film. Not much. Again, I've seen the odd kind of trailer or clip. It looks good. I really like her. I think she'll be great in it. Have you seen the original Invisible Man with Claude Rains?
No.
Part of the kind
Is this the first?
Yeah, so this is like 1930 something. Claude Rains, who was an actor he's in Casablanca as well and various other things. They hired him because of his voice, but they actually thought he was a poor actor, but they loved his voice so much they were like, we're going to give you acting lessons. And the special effects are really, really good for even because he's like, there's a bit where he's got bandages and goggles on and all this sort of stuff, and his hair's popping out. I've seen the images, and he basically, these people burst in and he's like, you want to see? And he's unwrapping the bandages.
And there's nothing there.
It looks amazing. It looks so good. But he went on to be, obviously, like, he got trained and was, ends up in Casablanca, so it can't be too bad, can he? No. But he's really, really good. And the sequel was Vincent Price who played that character.
Of course it was.
Of course, because he's got the great voice as well. Yeah, he's got the great creepy voice. So there you go.
I'm trying to think of Kevin Bacon. Would you say that Kevin Bacon's got a creepy voice?
Oh yeah, when he turns it on, when he really turns it on. When he's like, I liked it. You know, like, he can. And I think that's the thing is that he can go from playful and charming to like diabolical in like a split second. You're like, oh God, you're creepy and weird. I'm God, and he thinks he's God. Yeah, and he's like trying to put his hand up Elizabeth Shue's skirt and things like that, and you're like, come on, and all this sort of stuff. It's horrible. It's very much the kind of, the stereotypical like toxic male, or basically is what he is. And 20 years prior, before we were all very woke, but it's he's still horrible. He's still the villain of the piece. Luckily, he's not the hero of the piece. Yeah. Without he's the protagonist. He's the protagonist and kind of the villain, I guess, in this. Yeah. But I think it's a fantastic film. Do you think the effects hold up 20 years on?
I'd say they would. I think sometimes now when I watch films with CGI, you can really tell it's there. It's almost like it's too detailed.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the thing, but I'm like, it just looks cartoon-like almost in some films now. But no, I think the special effects definitely... live up to now, 20 years later.
I think another thing they did was they did a full body scan of Kevin Bacon down to his like capillaries, like veins, you name it, like every little detail. They literally did like a full body map of his body, and then after the film donated it to science so they could study kind of bodies.
Did you find any more in behind the scenes footage?
I learned a few things about like, because Paul Verhoeven obviously is quite famous for a lot of like his films kind of have I describe it as kind of hyper reality. It's almost a little bit theatrical. Some of the acting in this is very much like some people wouldn't necessarily react like that, or that's not how people talk. There's a lot of sciencey jargon like, the quantum phase shift isn't applying 100%, and the reduction rate is not. It's just like generic-y science mumbo jumbo. That's it's not real science.
I do love the old looking at them on these old computers as well, just like typing away, and it's just like a magic computer, like that
massive old keyboard and stuff.
Like that was not ever real.
That's not a thing.
Is it Criminal Minds where she has the amazing computer? They're like, will you just find me the DNA of this man who works somewhere? She's like, got it. And CSI. They're like, they've got like all these screens. High-tech screens.
And you're like, it's not real. It's not real. It's all sci-fi stuff. So Paul Verhoeven, he's famous for directing some of my favourite films and also some of my least favourite films. So like RoboCop, Total Recall, Basic Instinct, Showgirls. it's kind of a cult favourite.
It is.
Yeah,
it's a humongous cult favourite.
It's very quotable. It's
Yes.
very quotable. One of my favourites from that is you got to step on everybody to get to the top. I was like, sure. If your top is, walking down, having a big feathery gown on, sure, and with your boobs out, who knows? But this film was because a lot of his films have kind of political satire in, like RoboCop. It's full of Total Recall. Starship Troopers especially is full of join the USA, kind of very much like rah rah rah, and it's like making fun of that. Mm-hmm. But this is the time we went, right, I'm going to step away from that. I'm not going to do that anymore because they kind of become cult classics, but they're not necessarily a blockbuster success.
Yeah.
Like Basic Instinct was, and RoboCop and a few others were like big successes, but not like blockbuster level.
Consistently. Yeah.
This was a huge success.
Wow.
So he got what he wanted. And it's less about, there's not like any political allegory or anything like that in this. It's basically just scientist goes mad.
Yeah.
Does evil stuff.
Yeah.
It's a pretty simple premise.
Yeah.
But the reviews are quite bad for it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, apparently. And it kind of depressed him a little bit. And he took about 6 years off filmmaking, I think. And he went back to the Netherlands. And now he's basically given up Hollywood. Like Hollywood, he just doesn't want to do Hollywood films anymore. Doesn't like it. And he's a bit of a mad guy. He's a bit of like a kind of. He's in. They say in the behind the scenes. They say in the behind the scenes kind of thing. They go. Kevin Bacon says, when you're playing a mad scientist, it's good to have one on set.
Yeah.
So he's talking about Paul Verhoeven's direction. But he basically kind of just does. He did one called The Black Book for Germany. He did a film, and he did another film called Elle, which is kind of a kind of revenge movie about a woman who gets assaulted and she goes out and kind of takes her revenge. That's apparently quite good. But yeah, it seems to do more his own thing and in a European. I've not seen any of his foreign language films, but I would like to kind of give them a try.
Yeah.
But I think it's a real shame because I think Paul Verhoeven was a really unique voice in Hollywood. Like, how many big name like Netherlands directors do you get? Exactly. Can you name another one? Probably not. So, and I think it's a real shame that we lost him, and he was it was a unique talent. But I think I want to kind of dip into his more kind of obscure kind of cinematography because I love, like, RoboCop's like one of my favourite films ever anyway, just for everything about it. It's just a lot of people love it just because it's so weird and wacky. But yeah, he kind of just kind of fell away, and it is a shame, but as long as he's happy doing his thing, why not, I think probably maybe, Showgirls had a hand in that maybe as well, but...
Well, that is just a humongous cult film, especially in the LGBTQ community.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's just...
Massive.
So quotable, and
it's trashy, isn't it? It's really trashy.
I think it's because it is what it is. I think that's why it's been so successful.
It's like they get like a fan base, like the LGBT community can really grab onto that. They grab onto like the John Waters films. But,
I was just going to say John Waters.
Yeah, John Waters is big. Yeah, there you go. And like some horror films. Like I was watching Friday the 13th Part 7, a documentary on that, and they call it Friday Gay the 13th. Because there's a lot of kind of, I think the lead is gay, it was openly gay, and I think there was a couple of other cast members that were at least bi or lesbian or gay within the cast as well. I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And we talked about Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2 as well. Yeah. We talked about that last time. But yeah, I think, there are fan bases out for these films. And I think when they glom onto them, that's it. Like Rocky Horror, like
my goodness.
That's now a huge thing. That's not even cult anymore, I'd argue. It's so mainstream now. That you can't even get away from it. Like everybody loves Rocky Horror.
I heard someone say that the new Cats movie was like this generation's Rocky Horror. I was like, please fuck off. Surely
have you seen it?
I've not yet.
No, I went to see Star Wars instead.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I
felt so bad as well for all the hard work that went into it, and just fuck no. Whoever was like, I don't know, production managing. Was probably fired.
Yeah, I think so. Like, must have been somebody.
How did it get? I don't
know.
I'll
be honest. The musical has got nothing to it. There is no plot to Cats. It is basically I'm a cat. I'm a cat.
Sometimes we die.
Yeah, and that's it.
Sometimes we stay alive a little
Yeah,
bit longer.
it was based on a set of poems by T.S. Eliot, and they just went musical, sure. And so there's no story there anyway. So to make a film about it doesn't make much sense. And the fact that they had, Jason Derulo and James Corden in it put me right off.
Yeah.
I just thought, yeah, nobody likes them. If you're a fan, we apologise, but that's our opinion. I tell you, what did you think of the score for the film?
Well, I mentioned the lovely generic metal music that's in the majority of it. I was like, oh, it's Blair Witch 2 when it started. But yeah, no, I think the score was quite good, to be honest. I'm trying to think of a specific point. Anything that comes to mind. I think just any time.
I think when he's invisible and when he's creeping about,
when he's got the mask on, I think, because doesn't he? I know he goes. At one point, he just fucks with people.
Yeah,
he almost like plays with the noises he can make himself. It's fine.
It's like oh, someone farted in the room. Oh. It wasn't me. It definitely. Maybe that's the trick I would play. I would go into a room, I would fart loudly, and then watch everybody else blame each other. That would be my invisible thing. That's what I do.
Yeah, that's harmless.
It's done in fact by Jerry Goldsmith, who's one of my favourite kind of musicians, composers, whatever you call them. But yeah, I think it's really creepy and it's quite subtle as well.
Yeah.
It's not over the top, and it doesn't really necessarily sound like one of his scores. And I think that kind of, it's a nice kind of layer to the film that it kind of needs, which I thought was quite nice. And yeah, really, you can really hear the strings when like the action hits. It's like it's almost Psycho, like ring ring.
Yeah,
that chord. So yeah,
the other day. It's brilliant.
You gotta love Psycho. It's there's a reason we still
I
talk
jump
about
every
it.
time. I jump. Do you know when the detective walks up to the top of the stairs and gets hit in the face? I jump out of my skin, and every time it's perfectly timed. Honestly,
Is that when he goes down the stairs?
Yeah, he's like walking backwards.
Yeah. That bit. Yeah, I love that bit. I always
and the bit where at the end when he obviously runs in and he's like, surprise! It's me! And then,
Mummy!
Yeah. And then it's just so disturbing. He's like whining and wringing his neck like that and the wig flips off.
Oh, God, yeah.
And then you're like, oh my goodness. But yeah, no, it's brilliant. Even the monologue at the end.
Yeah. And
they even talk about, it's not actually him, he's lost his mind, blah, blah, blah. But then he kind of fucks you a little bit because he goes, well, did he?
Yeah.
Because the mother's talking at the end and she's like, I'm just going to sit here quietly. So they all blame him, but he didn't head like...
So it's almost like so they kind of do the two ending. They do this kind of supernatural ending.
Yeah.
But they also kind of explain that he's psychologically damaged as well.
Yeah, but then is he? Is it a ploy so he doesn't go to jail? He just goes to an asylum.
I have heard that Psycho 2 is actually quite good.
Is that I've not seen that.
It's quite late. I think it's 81 or 82 maybe. I think it was made. So it's quite a while, or maybe even later actually. But I hear it's actually quite underrated.
Okay.
I don't know about the ones after, but I've heard Psycho 2's.
Did Vince Vaughn do?
He did the remake, yeah.
Oh, was it the remake?
Yeah, he did the remake,
right.
The shot-for-shot remake, which was, I think, the only added.
Always needed.
The only added thing they changed was that we see him masturbating, looking through a peephole. I think that's the only difference.
I've seen it.
There you go. You remember that bit.
But do you actually? Sorry, not to go off on too much of a tangent, but do you see? Because obviously the beauty about Psycho was that you don't see any wounds.
Yes, yeah, no penetration, no.
Yeah, you don't see the knife actually going
in.
into her. Do you see it happen in the?
I'll be honest, I've not. Maybe I don't know.
We'll do it on a Hitchcock.
Yeah, we'll do a Hitchcockian
podcast.
Compendium.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I love Hitchcock, and I should really watch more of his stuff as well.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a great idea. Let's do that. Let's do that next. Another interesting thing about this was that the film was shot chronologically.
Oh, okay. Any particular reason why?
Well, because the set was to be blown up.
Well, yeah. How do we get around this? Let's just do it.
Oh God! Why did we film the end of the star? Oh no! Oh, why did I do this?
I don't got any money.
Hey, Gladiator, do you want to give us some money? You've made some money.
Right, yeah, because like I said earlier, he does go to town and, well, someone goes to town. I don't know if it is Kevin Bacon in a invisibility, well, in a green suit.
One of the other issues I had, I mean, the film just does end. It kind of just, you see he dies, spoilers, he does die. But then they kind of climb out and it's like, oh, we're just going to go in an ambulance now. Bye.
Yeah.
That's the kind of, I thought there might be more of a kind of resolution.
Well, I can't remember who quoted this, but the end of the film should feel like the beginning of a new film. And I kind of can, or maybe it was Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah.
But I can actually see that because the next film would be the court case. Like, what the fuck have you even played that?
It was like, and they go, we didn't see anything.
Yeah.
That's how they get out.
We just blame it all on him, wouldn't you?
Another one of my favourite. Oh no, that was it. That was what I was going to talk about. There's a bit where she escapes. I love the bit where she's locked in the freezer.
Yeah, I was like, how the heck did she get out of here? I was like, magnets.
Yes, electromagnets. She's a scientist. It's fine. It's feasible. And I love that she gets out, and then when she does get out, she gets this flamethrower, very very Ellen Ripley.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh goodbye, and he's like, see you later, and she's like, nah, slide tackles into the elevator, and burns him, and she doesn't just like do a little burn, she keeps going and going and going. The only issue I have with this is that he sheds his skin. We're talking about like 3rd-degree burns here from that flamethrower.
This is why we were talking about. Is he superhuman?
Yeah, is there a superpower to it?
Yeah, because what happened? Because he's walking around and he's obviously burning.
Yeah, he pulls off the mask, he pulls off his clothes. Yeah, because and you can see the burns. It fuses
to him. It's the plastic covering that sticks to his skin.
Yeah, and that would be boiling as well, so he's pulling that off.
It just rips your skin off.
But then he just walks away and it kind of all just like falls off. And
is he not back to? Is he not?
No. So what happens? They kind of. It's quite clever. They kind of pepper this in early on. When they shock the ape, when they do the paddles and the what do they call it? The defibrillator. Yeah. When they shock the ape, the ape comes fully visible.
Yeah.
And they do it a little bit with him, I think, when they shock him. So I think electricity has something to do with it.
Right.
So she electrocutes him. She pulls a wire out.
Yeah.
Jabs it, and then he becomes partially visible. So I think somewhere.
That's how. Oh yeah, so he did shed his skin.
So yeah, he kind of shed his skin, and then he's invisible again. And then she electrocutes him, and then again the burns go. But I think you can kind of see his visibility flickering, like him coming in and out of visibility, like the ape did. If you watch the start again, you have to kind of pay quite close attention to see that that's something, because they don't mention it. They don't go electricity makes them visible for a short moment.
I'm glad, because I do hate it when that happens.
They ham it on. A lot of exposition.
Great.
Yeah. This is the reason why we're doing this. We have to say this because we have to say this, and this information is for later.
You're all idiots.
Yeah, we have to get you to know everything before it ends. But yeah, so that kind of explains it. But yeah, the skin shedding. Yeah, maybe is partly. Maybe he's becoming something else. Maybe
we
he's.
don't know what the radiation was doing to him.
That as well, yeah. And we don't know what's in those serums because they don't really explain it. They're like, nah, the quantum phase shifting is, sure, whatever sciencey bullshit you want to come up with. He's just invisible, all right? He's just invisible. I wanted to ask, if you if you were going to make an invisible woman, man, child, animal, invisible lions, if you were going to make that film. What would your kind of take on it be?
Ooh, because I'm doing a bit of writing at the minute.
Oh.
If I take that concept of invisibility, maybe I do love horror. Obviously, it's my favourite genre.
I think it does have. I think it's probably one of its roots its strength is probably in horror in some form.
Yeah, I mean, you could. It might be going down a bit of a Freddy versus Jason kind of route, but could put put an invisible person in to kill killers.
Okay.
Or to stop. Oh, no, actually, so it wouldn't be horror, really, but you could, give someone the power of invisibility to fight crime almost, but, maybe it's very specific for, rapists or something like that. Like, follow people around.
Like, they could be like an eyewitness. Yeah. And they could use that testimony to get...
Yeah, or serial killers.
That's cool.
So maybe something like that.
Yeah, I've got one. I've got a hot take. So similar premise, scientists trying to figure out. Well, they're not trying to figure out invisibility. They're trying to cure like a skin problem or a skin disease or an infection or a deformity. Let's say like on a genetic level or something.
Yeah.
And they accidentally stumble upon invisibility. Like by accident, like it's not like they're not planning for it.
Yeah.
You know, haven't got infrared goggles or anything like that. And the person they give it to has always been noticed, always been made fun of, taken advantage of. You know, just like marginalised by society because they were hideous or they didn't look beautiful. And now they finally got what they want. They don't want to be seen. So but it you know, it makes them go mad with power. They're like, I can live my life now. I can do whatever I want. I can do all these things. And then they kind of maybe go on a kind of killing spree.
Do you know what that's just reminded me of? I watched a film recently on, I think I saw it on Sky. It was called Rabid. And it's a remake.
David Cronenberg,
Yeah, but it's the Soska sisters.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Who... amazing. But that's very similar. She gets disfigured in an accident, the protagonist, and it's body horror kind of film. It's like, it's quite graphic to look at, but she gets disfigured all over her face. You can kind of see her teeth up here and stuff, and so she goes to this clinic that will like, we're gonna make you beautiful again, and
sounds very Cronenbergian.
Yeah. So so the doctors like, they treat her and she looks absolutely completely back to normal, but then she starts getting hungry like for meat, and it then turns into kind of like a rabies kind of storyline, so you're kind of similar like with how you started there, but that's very funny because you've not seen the film.
No, not. I've got the original. I've got the original as well, which I still need to watch.
Yeah,
and that is planned. That is planned somewhere down the line.
But it's cool. The Soska sisters they have a really cool take on it.
Yeah,
so definitely give it a watch.
I think I need to see more of their stuff as well. Definitely.
Yeah, American Mary is one of my faves.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. I did really like this quote. It was really stupid, but they were like. Where have you been? You're like, where's what the redhead, the short red hair girl? She's like, where's she gone? Because they're trying to save the Grunberg, they're trying to save him, and they're like, she went to get blood. She went alone, and he was like, yeah, he was dying, and they went, he's dead. I was like, that's quite funny.
It was quite funny actually, because he did look like he was moving in one shot, and then it's like, he's dying. He's dead. He's
dead.
Yeah.
It's like, no. But yeah, I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I want to mention, really. Mm-hmm. No, I think we've mentioned a lot. Oh, there was talk that apparently that Robert Downey Jr. was supposed to be cast as Josh Brolin's role or Kevin Bacon's role. So he's in talks apparently, but there's not. Can't find that confirmed anywhere, but it could just be whispers. But apparently Ed Norton and
I could see Ed Norton.
Guy Pearce were also considered for the Hollow Man. So yeah, I can imagine like an Edward Norton, but I know he's quite difficult to work with. He very much like he has to have his own way a little bit, I think, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Like he took over like directing of American History X and stuff like that.
I could see Robert Downey Jr. playing Josh Brolin's character,
I can see
bringing that comic, because he survives as well at the end, doesn't he? So you've got to make him a nice guy, because like otherwise no one would root for him.
I think I've definitely always had a little bit of a crush for Elizabeth Shue.
Oh really?
Yeah, I think I saw her in Cocktail, and then I think Adventures in Babysitting as well.
Oh, of course.
When she was in her prime, she's still very beautiful in this. Don't get me wrong, but I was like when she was in her prime, and I was like, oh yes, very nice, very nice.
My little sister used to watch Adventures in Babysitting, or like consistently during children's go. I'm gonna watch this film 3 times a day. Yeah. But
my sister's was Matilda.
6 or 7. Oh gosh, yeah. I think she must have been like 6 or 7 or something. But honestly, throughout the whole film, it's like a bit of an action, there's some violence, but then at the end she's like, "Don't fuck with the babysitter." And I was like, "Hey,
80s.
What is that?"
I forgot about that bit.
She said, ducking.
Yeah, duck. Oh, you ducker.
Yeah.
You bad duck. You mother ducker. I always. That's the thing with some of these films. Like I was thinking about doing a podcast on like inappropriate like PG movies.
Yeah.
Like things like Poltergeist and.
Oh yeah.
Because that I was like, that's got PG rating, but it's kind of not.
Oh no.
Yeah.
No.
The bit where he's pulling his face off.
That's gross. That bit. I love Poltergeist. What's his
Classic.
name? It was the dad in it. He's in
Craig T. Nelson.
Yeah, Craig T. Nelson. Yeah, he's hilarious.
He's the dad in Incredibles as well.
Yes, he
Yeah,
is.
Mr. Incredible.
He's in Once Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah. He's in a lot of good stuff.
Yeah. Oh no, it's really funny. God, was it PG?
That was a PG, yeah. But then even like Indiana Jones, like those early Indiana Jones films, like the guy.
The one where he gets his heart taken out.
Yeah, that's PG. That's PG.
Holy moly.
Yeah, there's a lot of them out there. Even Ghostbusters has a scene where one of them dreams about getting a blowjob from a ghost.
God, which one's that?
First one.
Which was it? Who was
It's Dan Aykroyd's character who dreams. It's very brief, but he dreams about having it because he's there and he's like the zip it's floating above her. Then she's invisible. Zip comes down, flies open, and then he goes ooh like that, makes a face.
Oh my gosh! I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, forget about that. There you go.
You should definitely look into a few more of those.
Yeah, they're quite funny. I think I've already got a list somewhere. But yeah, I've got a few listener comments before we go. Let's have a quick look at them. Is there anything else you want to say before I go into these, or have you got anything else you want to mention? No.
I'm very excited to see the Invisible Man.
Yes, me too. But you enjoyed this. I enjoyed this.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's.
I definitely recommend it.
Yeah, I think it's worth a watch. I think if you're looking for something very similar to The Invisible Man, I think this is your go-to.
Yeah.
Good cast, good action, good music, good performances. Yeah. The effects are good as well.
Yeah.
I think all around it's a good film, and it should be remembered. So listener comments. So this is Paul Meller from Twitter at the Meller Geek. I saw this one at the cinema when it came out, and I remember it being okay, but I've never been back to it. I think it may look dated if I rewatched it today, so it will be good to hear your thoughts. So we don't think it looks that dated.
No.
I think it still holds up for the most part. I think because they spent $50 million on the special effects at that time, I think that's what makes it.
Obviously, you can tell it's CGI.
Yeah, of course.
Because how the frig else would they have done it? But,
exactly. And that's probably why we haven't had that many Invisible Men films since.
Yeah.
Or, Invisible People films.
Yeah.
I think it's because it's quite tricky to do. Let's have a look at this one. So Ben from Nerd Chatting, that's Ben at Ben_NerdChat. Great little movie, great premise and special effects. However, slightly falls into the slasher territory in the last reel. Yeah,
it does.
But that's not necessarily a bad thing. I like a good slasher. Superb performance by Kevin Bacon portraying not only a man you cannot see, but also a man with no discernible moral code.
Yep.
Therefore, becoming a pure monster. Yeah, I think he is a movie monster. The original Invisible Man is part of the Universal monsters, those classic monsters. So yeah, he's a monster. Dan Keatis at DL Keatis. Ooh, I've been looking forward to this one. I recall watching this in the cinema back in 2000. Did a double bill with this and Mission Impossible 2. Nice double bill. Moving on, our biggest fan, I am Jack's Musings at I am Jack's Musings. It's a lesser Verhoeven, but has enough of his flourishes to make it watchable. Bonus. Classic teen crush Elizabeth Shue. Yeah, just discussed it. Very similar thoughts throughout. But I agree, it's not one of his best, but it's definitely not one of his worst from what I've seen. No. And I think there is, like you said, there is some cult enjoyment out of Verhoeven films because he kind of challenged kind of Hollywood cinema with excessive violence and excessive sex and excessive kind of satire and pointing the finger at political figures and the way America is run, because he's in the best position to do that. Being a foreigner, he can look at the issues and the problems and point them out. So I think he's a great man for that. But yeah, I think we're done. I think we've covered. Thank you so much for coming. It's been a lot of fun. Hope you've enjoyed yourself. And we'll do something very soon. Maybe a Hitchcockian. Yeah, something Hitchcockian. Well, maybe we could do Psycho 2. Maybe we can have a look at that. Yeah. Maybe we can see that because I've not seen it. You've not seen it.
So, and Psycho 2 is not the remake.
No. So Psycho 2 stars Anthony Perkins. So the original. Okay. So I think he starred in 3 and 4 as well. But I don't think they're as well received as 2. Right. But obviously it's not as good as Psycho, but it's not too bad apparently. Right, okay. Or we could watch one of the lesser known Hitchcock films. There's quite a few. He made a lot. He made a lot of films.
My mum made me watch so many when I was
maybe you want to watch this.
But I think I saw plenty.
I've got Psycho. I think I've got Rear Window.
The
Birds.
Yeah.
Have you heard about the bird war? Best line in that film. Crazy old lady.
Yeah, and that bit with the guy with his eyes pecked out. I'm just getting all these flashbacks of films that my mum made me watch. And I was like, oh.
Mum, why? Why? So much swearing. So many ghost blowjobs. Oh no. Right, well, that is it. Thank you very much for joining us again, and go out and see The Invisible Man. Bye-bye.